Hello, everyone. My name is Dr. Shweta Rani, and I am working as an assistant professor in the Department of Geography, Dayal Singh College, University of Delhi. Today, I'm going to focus on a very important resource, that is water resources and the dynamics of its demand and supply in the national capital of India, which is Delhi metropolitan region. We all know that water is a prime resources needed for human existence, and due to the rising population, it is being exploited and extracted at a very rapid pace, making it a scarce resource. So, my today's lecture will cater to all these aspects of water and thus proposing some innovative solutions that we can actually put into practice. So the title of my today's presentation and lecture is Urban Geohydrology and Water Balance in Delhi Metropolitan Region. Now let us just move ahead. This is a quote that I have taken, and it says, safe and uninterrupted water supply along with hygienic sanitation are very important and crucial for achieving the goal of good health and well-being for all. And you know, this is a part of Sustainable Development Goal number 3 and maintaining socioeconomic sustainability of urban areas, especially big towns and metropolis like megacities. And hence, today I'm going to concentrate all my discussions within the realm of Delhi, which is the national capital of India. Let us move ahead with the introduction of the today's discussion. We all know that water is the prime determinant resource ensuring sustainability of urban regions. Rivers, lakes, and springs, they form important sources of water. We all are aware of that. For what? For all living organisms, including we human beings, the plants, animals, and a number of creatures. Now, India is facing severe and sustained water stress conditions. And you know, it is actually ranking 13th among all the water stressed countries in the World Resources Institute's Adequate Water Risk Atlas, according to the latest 2021 data. India's water demand is projected to grow almost, 24% by the year 2025, 50% by 2030, and a drastically high percentage, which is 74% by 2050, implying potential scarcity for hundreds of millions of people and an eventual 6% loss in the country's GDP, thus posing a challenge to food security, that is number one, health, number two, and third and most important, access to all the other resources that is related to this prime resource. Now, this situation is even more dire in the urban parts of India. And we all know that the level of urbanization for India is almost 32% according to the latest census that we have got 2011. Rapid urbanization and population growth coupled with no addition of water resource is a major challenge before us. Now, the expansion of need pushed human beings to use other resources like the groundwater resource. This is a map that I have carved out and that I have made using the software GIS and MapInfo. And this is showing the water stressed cities in India according to 2018. And you can see most of the cities, especially in the northwestern parts of India, receiving very scantiest rainfall, are termed to be the water stressed cities. These are Amritsar, Jalandhar, Mohali, Gurugram, Ghaziabad. And also you can say our national capital of India, Delhi, also falls within this zone. So an effective and integrated approach to water resource management is therefore critical for this rapidly urbanizing India. And the union budget of 2021 also allocated almost 11,500 crores to enhance water availability and water resource sustainability within the nation of India. This is the importance of water in India with a growing population. So the focus is now on water conservation measures. That is a must. For what? To manage the water resources very efficiently and very judiciously. Hence, there comes up the need of urban geohydrology. The importance of urban geohydrology, it's something which is not new. It was discussed during the 9th International Conference on Urban Climate, which was held at Toulouse in France in July 2015. So you can imagine we are having this discussion today in 2022, but its need was something that was echoed some 7 years ago. And the conference emphasized and recommended that there should be a study of water balance, especially in the urban areas. And hence, I am today going to focus entirely on the calculation of water balance and how it can be applied to achieve sustenance of water and its management. Now, let us move ahead to understand that why this problem or why the scarcity of water is a major issue in the big urban cities, especially in the mega cities. And the case study that I have taken, Delhi, presents a classic example to this. Now, let us also try to reevaluate what are mega cities. For those of you who are unaware, let me clarify this concept. Mega cities are primarily a phenomenon of the developing world, mostly. In 1970s, the United Nations defined a megacity as what? As an agglomeration with a threshold population of 10 million and above. That means any city, in order to categorize themselves to the category of megacity, they must have a population of 10 million and above. So the threshold population is 10 million. Now in 1975, there were 5 megacities. And as of 2015, there are as many as 29 megacities with 4 Indian megacities, namely Delhi, Mumbai, Kolkata, and Chennai. They are falling within those categories at the global level. So such recent trends in megapolarization. What is megapolarization? Megapolarization is actually a new term that actually terms or that actually explains cities turning into mega cities with the tremendous and conspicuous addition of urban population. You know, you all people are must be aware that most of the people from the rural areas, they actually tend to migrate to the urban areas. And the moment they are migrating, they are actually adding up to the total population of that urban scene or that urban region. So if their total population is going to increase and if it crosses 10 million and above, then such a trend in that city is termed as megapolarization. So that means city is turning the world into an urban world. That means we can say not only the world, the process of shifting of people from the rural areas to the urban areas in search of many things that we are going to cover in the later slides. They are converting the world into an urban world. Because you know, the moment the percentage of people living in the urban areas will increase, and the moment it will cross 50%, we can definitely term the world as urban world. And this is a word that has been coined by Palin in the year 2005. Now it has been, we will move ahead by terming cities as engines of economic growth. And you know, it is very well established that cities are the engines of economic growth and agents of change. And this was echoed by Mohan and Das Gupta in the year 2005. They were of the opinion that cities are considered to be the seeds of innovation. Yes, definitely. We all agree with that. They are the seeds of scientific revolution and technological developments. So 3 things that have been advocated by them in order to designate a city as engine of economic growth is the first, the seat of innovation. The second, they are the seat of scientific revolution. And third, they are also the seat of technological development. So cities in particular and urban areas that we can say in general, what do they actually indicate? They act as a suction force. Suction force, that means something which is attracting things towards themselves. So cities in general and the entire urban areas in general, they are acting as a suction force to pull in the stream of migration from various parts of India. As for example, if we are taking Delhi, then we can say Delhi is acting as a magnet. It is acting as a suction force whereby it is attracting the people from different parts of India. For what and why do people are actually lured to move to these big urban cities? There are various factors that is actually compelling them to move from their own native place to the national capital. For what? Number one, in the lure of better employment opportunities. That is very correct. People move because they feel that the moment we are going to go to the big cities, we are going to get better employment opportunities, which they are not getting at their respective native places. The second, high paying jobs. Everybody feels that since we are staying in a very remote area or suppose in a class 6 town where we are very qualified, but we are not getting high paying jobs. So let us move ahead to some big metropolitan cities like Delhi, Mumbai, Kolkata, Chennai, Bangalore, where our work would be recognized and we would be getting some high paying jobs. So this is the second factor that is actually pushing them away from their native place and pulling towards the national capital of Delhi. The third thing is the high and well acclaimed educational system. And I think most of you will agree with this fact that Delhi, in fact, Delhi University is regarded to be a very prestigious university in India. And apart from DU, we have other important centers also like JNU, we have Jamia Millia Islamia, and most of them are acting as the seats of higher education. So people, especially the student folk from different parts of India, they feel that we must go to these cities, Delhi, in order to get higher education. So this is also one of the factor which is making Delhi act as a magnet. Number fourth is the security factor. Definitely, people move to higher cities that they would be getting high paying jobs, better employment facilities, very renowned educational system, and ultimately they'll be feeling secured both financially, academically, and everything. And then last, if they have all these things in their hand, once they have moved to the national capital, they wish that they will have a decent and better standard of living with quality life and well-being. Because the moment you are getting a high paying job, you will be having better, you will be like financially well off. So you can think that, okay, in that case, I will have a decent and better standard of living. So all these five set of factors actually make any mega city, for example, Delhi, to act as a magnet, to act as a suction, to pull in the trends of migration from different parts of India. Now, this is the map again that I have prepared using the GIS software. And it is showing this is the India. And from India, this is the small portion here is Delhi. I have extracted it to the down. And just for your understanding, this is the administrative divisions for 2011. This is the river Yamuna that is flowing. And these are some of the adjacent states. So a prime mover and nerve center of ideas, I would designate this particular state as a prime mover and nerve center of ideas because many ideas actually emanate from this. You can say city, you can say state, because Delhi is both a city and a state. And actions. The mega city of Delhi, however, stands at the crossroads today because it is actually acting as a crossroad, giving way to the people to the north and the northwestern part of India, giving way to the people to the southern part of India, and also to the eastern part of India. That is why it is also regarded as the heart of India. So Delhi stands as a very good example and testimony to this. We all know the famous Delhi Sultanate, the Mughal Empire and all, they all flourished here. So we can say it is a seat of mesmerizing Indian culture. The seat of national governance, yes, because all the important decisions pertaining to India it is being taken from this particular state only, and a center of business. Yes, it is also a growing hub of contemporary and higher educational system, and it is a center of employment generation. So owing to all these things and being the capital of the largest democracy, which is India, Delhi receives constant and rapid influx of migrants. So till now, I have just tried to make you people understand that why I have chosen Delhi as a case study for my study on water balance calculation, and why this particular state actually represents a situation whereby population is increasing by leaps and bounds. So due to all these factors that I have mentioned here, it is acting as a magnet and suction, and people are compelled to move to this growing city. So as a suction force, this state tends to pull in the pool of migrants, giving rise to the process of urbanization. And hence the level of urbanization in Delhi is increasing every year drastically and tremendously. So after the post-independence period, New Delhi was officially declared as the seat of Government of India in 1947. And since 1947, you all know it is the year when India got independence. So since then, this particular city has assumed significant position among the great cities in India, attracting bulk of migrants with a total population of, you can imagine, 31.18 million in 2021. The 2021 data for Census of India is still to be out. So these are the provisional figures. So with an unprecedented pace of growth, coupled with increasing trends in migration pattern, this particular city needs to be able to integrate its elegant past as well as the modern development that is taking place into an organic whole, keeping pace with the future generations. That means we are talking something related with the sustainability of the city in terms of water resource. This is a multiple bar diagram that I have taken to make you understand the scenario that Delhi is facing through. It is the population growth in major global cities. I've taken New York, Tokyo, Beijing, Delhi, Mumbai, and Mexico. And these are the different colored bars that is depicting the different years. 10 years gap I have taken. So you can see if we take the example of Delhi for 2030, which is the dark red color, it is showing the highest bar, even more than Tokyo. At present, Tokyo is the most populated city in the world. But as per 2030, Delhi is going to supersede Tokyo and its population will increase to this much. You can imagine it is between 35 to 40, somewhere around 38, 39 million it will reach by 2030. So just see the scenario. If we compare with other mega cities of the world, the situation is the population growth in Delhi is very, very alarming. And if more people are going to come to Delhi, their demand will also increase. Demand for food, it's a later concept, but water is their immediate requirement. But we know that water is a limited resource. And being limited in nature, if more people are going to come, they will definitely exhaust all the water resource in this particular national capital, putting the existing water resource in a very stressful situation. Hence, my today's discussion will just focus that how to make a balance between the demand of the water and its supply and the excess supply. If it is happening during the monsoon season through rainfall, it should be properly tapped. And how do we know about it? Through the calculation of water balance. This is the second graph. This is a line graph which is showing the trend of Delhi's population growth from 1901 up till 2011, because this was the latest census data actual that I could get. For 2021, it is still predictable and it is still to be calculated. So for 1901, you could see it was just 0.40. This is in millions. And soon after independence, it rose. 1951, it was 0.92. Then it rose to 1.74 million, 2.66 million, 4.07, 6.22, 9.42. And see, soon after 9.42, this 9.42 is representing for 1991. And in 1991, the year 1991 is known in India as the year of new economic policy. That was the year of LPG, liberalization, privatization, and globalization. And after that, drastically, the population of Delhi increased. See, in 2001, it increased to 13.85. And in 2011, it is 16.78. And we don't know that 2021 census, when it comes, the figure would become how much, because it is increasing by leaps and bounds. So this is a line graph that I've made just to show you the trend of population growth in Delhi. That means this is actually requiring immediate attention on the hand of policy makers. Next, three major problems that I have encountered or I have come across while making a study related with water within the city of Delhi. So a high trend in urbanization coupled with fresh migration waves received negatively, it impacts both the urban infrastructure and the environment. Not only water resource is a part of the infrastructure. So the entire urban infrastructure within the national capital, it's going to be very, very negatively impacted, and also its environment. You see, when there was the phase of corona, when the corona phase was there and the entire system was just paralyzed, people were not allowed to move out from their home. If you could just go to your balcony at that time, like we were staying in Delhi at that time, and when we moved out in our balcony and had a look over the sky, it was so crystal clear. That means the environment at that time was not fully utilized. It was not negatively impacted. Why? Because the people were not moving out. The people moving out, taking their own cars, a lot of pollution was there. So more and more number of people coming to this national capital for higher education, for better employment opportunities, for high paying jobs, anything that like the number of factors that we have discussed in the previous slides, all these are going to have an impact on the urban infrastructure on one hand and the environment on the other hand. So just imagine the pressure that the state is going to feel on its available water resources. So this is the first major problem that I have encountered. The second relates to the problem of deterioration in water supply. Yes, whatever amount of water is there, there is a deterioration in its supply because the demand is constantly increasing due to rising population. And if what people are requiring water resource, and if they are not getting enough surface water through rivers and canals, what they will do? They will dug the water, dug the ground, and they will get water from underground, which is known as groundwater resources. And the moment you are digging it out and extracting it at a very fast pace, what it will happen? It will lead to depletion of groundwater resource. And hence, in this particular state, the groundwater depletion is a major challenge. And this particular resource is facing a stressed situation, especially the fresh water availability are the major concerns. You people must be aware that the level of groundwater has reached to, you can say, almost its nil situation in the state of Haryana, apart from Delhi. Because these are some of the areas having very high, you cannot say density of population, but yes, some portion of Haryana, some portion of Uttar Pradesh, some portion of Rajasthan, they all are falling within Delhi as part of Delhi NCR. So definitely these are some of the stressed regions in Delhi because their population is also increasing by leaps and bounds. Second, Delhi is the second most water stressed city in the world. And according to Central Groundwater Board, they assessed the total groundwater potential in Delhi to be 292 million cubic meters in 2003 as compared to 428 million cubic meters in 1983. So you can say that there is a reduction from 1983 to 2003. That means the span of 20 years, the water resource has reduced from 428 to 292. And this was only the period that I have shown you in this line graph that the population increased very drastically. See, 1991 onwards. So the same thing I'm representing through data. And the recharge of groundwater gets restricted due to decrease in permeable surface. Now, what is this? How do water actually goes down? It depends upon the porosity of the soil. Porosity of the soil means the gaps in the soil. If the soil is very, very compact, then the water, if the rainfall is happening, then all the water do not flows like that. Part of it also gets infiltrated down the soil and goes down and gets reserved as groundwater. But if we are removing the surface of the soil and if for beautification purpose, we are concretizing it with suppose tiles, with suppose marbles, then if the water is falling on that particular surface, it do not has a gap. It do not finds a pores through which it can percolate down. So under such a scenario, on one hand, the population of Delhi are extracting the groundwater without any proper guidance, due to which there is a reduction in its level. And on the other hand, instead of recharging it, the surface of the soil is being concretized with marbles, with hard structures that do not have any capacity or capability to let the water percolate down. So this is another major problem that I've encountered and find out of. Now, after this, let us move ahead. Climate change induced hydrological regime. Definitely, the climate of Delhi is also playing a very important role in making it a water stress city in the world. Climate change increases the odds of worsening drought and floods in many parts of the world. That means for past 10 years ago, we were not aware, like in 2021, most of you have heard that the state of Orissa is encountering a number of cyclones, which was not happening earlier. This is what? This is due to the change in the climate. In Delhi also, as we residents, we are staying here for the past 15 years. I've never found that the climate was so high or the temperature was so high during the month of May and June. But this time it has crossed all the limit. So people are saying extremes of weather is the ultimate result of climate change. Extremes of weather means extremes of hot heat-like situation, heat waves, and during winters also, the winters are very chilly, very cold. Rainfall also it's happening, but we cannot predict actually. So these are termed to be the odds, the extremes. That means we have not predicted, but it is happening out of nowhere. So climate change increases the odds of worsening droughts and floods in many parts of the world, like the Chennai flood also. Previously, people were not aware. Even flood-like situation is happening in some parts of Rajasthan, which is actually known for a drought-like scenario. Now, warmer temperature enhances evaporation. We all know when the temperature will become warm, what it will happen? The rate of evaporation, that means the conversion of water into vapor and its release into the atmosphere will increase, because temperature is one of the guiding factor for evaporation. So warmer temperature enhances evaporation, which reduces surface water. Yes, if the environment is becoming very, very hot, very, very heated, then the rate of evaporation would be very high, and hence the surface water amount will get reduced and they dries out. The soil becomes very, very dried up, and also the vegetation. The vegetation is also in the want of water because most of the water has gone evaporated into the atmosphere. So this makes periods with low precipitation drier than they would be in cooler conditions. So droughts are defined by their lack of available water, and flood as excess availability of water. Drought means there is a deficiency of water, and flood means there is a surplus of water. So both the situations are something which is not acceptable. We must make a balance between the drought and the flood-like situation. And Delhi is one of the states which is facing both the scenarios, especially as a result of climate change. And hence people are negatively being impacted. So some climatic change increases precipitation variability. That means the precipitation is not variable in nature. We cannot actually predict that in which month Delhi is going to receive its rainfall. Suppose if we are ready that, okay, the exact time of onset of southwest monsoon in Delhi is 29th of June every year, but never we receive rainfall on this particular date. It's already the third and the fourth week of June is approaching, and we are into that. So you can expect, but never. Most of the time rainfall occurs somewhere in August. So we are not sure, somewhere it happens in July. If people are aware, they would be well prepared in advance, because whatever rain will be falling, exactly all the amount will not get infiltrated due to the concretized surface of Delhi. So we can have some option to save them, to deposit them in some area which could be used in periods when we have droughts. But this is the scenario that there is a total precipitation variability. And this climate change, it increases this variability in rainfall precipitation, meaning there will be more periods of both extreme precipitation and drought. This creates the need for expanded, that is what I was telling, water storage during drought years, and increased risk of flooding and dams failure during periods of extreme precipitation. Whenever we have extreme precipitation in any part of India, The water gets stored in the dam, and in order not to allow it to overflood the areas, it is being controlled by dam. But sometimes if its discharge or rate of runoff is very, very high, it cuts through the dams and just inundates all the area, creating problems of floods. So that is the period of water surplus. We should be smart enough in capturing and storing those water, and we can use those water during the period of droughts. And what happens during drought? Communities may have limited access to water for household use, including drinking, cooking, cleaning, and watering plants. You know, in Delhi, we have fixed time for receiving water from Delhi Jal Board. Like morning, if we are going to get from 6 to 7:30 in the morning, from 4 to 6 in the evening. It's not that we are getting water throughout the day. So there is actually a scarcity of water. And why? Because there are a lot of population who are actually demanding this water. So it is being actually timed throughout the day, that in a particular district of Delhi, this is the time that they're going to receive water from the municipality. So this is the thing. So definitely we have limited access to water for household use, including drinking, cooking, cleaning, and watering plants, as well as for agriculture, transportation, and power generation. Droughts may lead to higher water cost, rationing, or even the decimation of important water sources like wells, as a drought did in rural California community in 2021. It happened. California is a country which is situated along the western coast of United States, and they have faced this scenario. And since Delhi is also reeling under the pressure of water resource, so we can also expect the same if necessary action is not taken in advance. After this, let us move to the next slide. The three major objectives that I'm going to focus today is to identify the factors affecting water balance and water deficit and water surplus month in Delhi metropolitan region. Second, to analyze the future water supply scenarios in the study area. And third and most important, to suggest the innovative solutions, measures, and techniques to manage water deficit and water surplus areas. We have to make a balance between both water surplus and the water deficit areas, and it is a must. At present, Delhi is facing this scenario. It can happen to any city in the world if their population is increasing in the same manner. Suppose if Delhi is in this present situation in 2022, it might be possible in 2025, 2028, or 2030. Some other cities of the country will face the similar situation. So if we can propose some innovative solutions to take care of this scenario, it will actually act as an example for other cities also to follow its same footstep. Data for the present study, I have collected it from NAQUIN report, Central Groundwater Board 2020. It's quite recent. Hydrometeorological data from Indian Meteorological Department, like I've collected data for temperature, for its precipitation, then I've calculated annual heat index. Also, Master Plan of Delhi 2021, Economic Survey of Delhi 2020-2021, District Census Handbook 2019, and Census of India. I have catered for three different census years, 91, 2001, and 2011. So I'll just focus on methodology, that how do we actually calculate water balance? This is very important, and almost all of you should be aware of this as part of this refresher course in geography. Being a geographer, and water being an important component of geography, which we term as hydrology, you all must know how to go about it or how to calculate. You can do similar thing at your own house also, because we have to make this important resource sustainable for the future generations also. So water balance, it is a budget. Budget means that is the adjustment between the inflow and outflow of something. You must be hearing of the annual budget from the central government, your home budget, or as a teacher or as a student, you also have your budget. You have the total amount of money, and then you plan how to spend it in a specific manner. So it's totally a balance between the input and the output of something. Similar thing here. Water balance is a budget of water requirement geographically. Geographically, it's very important, because all the parts of India do not receive similar amount of rainfall. It is definitely guided by the geographical factors. There are certain parts that receives very scanty rainfall, like the western part of India, including Rajasthan, where the Aravalli mountain lies parallel to the southwest monsoon. So hence they do not strike and no rainfall occurs. It actually moves parallel to the Aravalli ranges. Similarly, on the, you can say the northeastern part of India, or you can say the western part of the Western Ghats, they receive very heavy rainfall. Why? Because they have the presence of mountain barriers on through which the southwest monsoon strikes and gives plenty amount of rainfall. So this is the role of geography. At any given location, by rainfall and other precipitation processes, and the loss of water due to evaporation, evapotranspiration, runoff, water shortage in the soil medium. I'll explain all this terminology in the later part of my discussion. Now, water balance can be established for any area. For any area, you can calculate water balance. Like I did for the state of Delhi, you can do it for your own respective city also. Some of my students have calculated for their own native place, like one student belonging to Mirzapur. He has calculated for water balance calculation for Mirzapur. The other took Begusarai district in Bihar. So you can do it for your own respective district or your own respective city. But you need to know how to go ahead with this. And how this is done? By calculating the total precipitation input and the total of various output. That means budget has to be done only when you know the total amount of input of water and the output of water, that the how the water is going back to the atmosphere and through which process we are receiving water onto the earth surface. Precipitation and rainfall is one of the major source. Now, what is the difference between precipitation and rainfall? You must be wondering. I'm sure most of you must be aware also, but for others who are not aware, let me clarify this, because we are using this word precipitation everywhere and not rainfall. Rainfall is the liquid form of water that is actually occurring over a place. But let me tell you, almost all the parts of India do not receive this liquid form of water. The northern part of India, especially those who are at a very higher altitudes, like the hill stations, Shimla, if you go much higher in Jammu and Kashmir, the Leh and Ladakh region, or if you go somewhere very north to the Arunachal Pradesh, they do not have a rainfall kind of thing. They have precipitation. Precipitation includes all forms of water being coming down, not only in liquid form, but in the solid form also. That means it also includes ice crystals, hailstorms, ice sleets, everything. So people, they do not say it's raining. People, they use the word it's precipitating. That means precipitation is happening. So you can say rainfall is a subset of precipitation, and precipitation is a superset. It includes rainfall as a part and as a portion of it. So two important criteria for calculation of water balance are precipitation and temperature. Very important, because the higher is the temperature, the more would be the rate of evaporation. Evaporation is the moving out of water from the earth's surface into the atmosphere, and precipitation is the receiving of water in the form of liquid or solid from atmosphere to the earth's surface. So precipitation and temperature are the two important components that we need to know for calculation of water balance. So in water balance, input is precipitation. You all must have understood by now. And output are the evaporation and transpiration. Evaporation is the escape of water as water vapor into the atmosphere. But transpiration is the similar process, but it happens only through the aerial parts of the green plants. Now, what are aerial parts? Aerial parts are especially the protruded portion, that are leaves with a greater surface area. So it happens. And through transpiration, these green plants also prepare their food, which is known as photosynthesis. So now evaporation can occur at any time. There is no restriction for evaporation to happen. It can happen during daytime, during nighttime, anytime. But transpiration occurs from green plants in the presence of sunlight. So we will say this evaporation happens, this transpiration happens only during the day hours. Because during night time, when we do not have sunlight, sunlight is a major component and requirement for the process of transpiration. Now, there are two types of evapotranspiration. So this evapotranspiration is the combination of evaporation and transpiration. Taking them together, we have just one terminology, evapotranspiration, that is representing the output of water back to the atmosphere. It is of two types. It is potential and it is actual. Now here we are coming to the next step to understand potential evapotranspiration, and the next is the actual evapotranspiration. Now what are they? Potential is abbreviated as PET. Everywhere we are going to use now PET instead of potential evapotranspiration. And ET is the actual evapotranspiration. Now what is PET? It is a measure of ability of atmosphere to remove water from the surfaces through the process of evaporation and transpiration. And mind it, this is a hypothetical terminology. It is a predictive terminology. It is assumptive in nature. It is theoretical that how much evaporation would have occurred. That means it is not something which is happening in reality. It is something which is assumption. It is something which is theoretical in nature. So contrary to this, we have ET, which is the actual evapotranspiration, and it is the quantity of water that is actually being removed from a surface due to the process of evaporation and transpiration. So here lies the difference between PET and ET. ET is the actual quantity of water, and potential is the hypothetical scenario or the theoretical scenario that how much water would have occurred to be lost into the atmosphere. Now it indicates the real amount of water that has actually been lost. And ET is always more than PET in reality. In reality, your actual water that is being removed is always more than what it is being predicted. So moving ahead to the next slide. This is a very simple diagram that I have carved out, and it is just showing water balance in a basin. In general, suppose this is a region, any river basin, any region that you are taking. This downward arrow is showing precipitation. It is abbreviated as capital P. And this is precipitation. That means since it is falling from the cloud to the down, so a downward arrow is showing this. Now this upward arrow is showing evaporation. You can not only term it as evaporation, you can say it evapotranspiration because it's happening both through the bodies, the different surfaces along with the vegetation. So it is moving up. It is going from the Earth's surface into the atmosphere. Hence, an upward arrow is being shown here. So this is coming down and this is going up. So a balance between them has to be maintained. And if a balance is, this balance could be either in deficit or this could be either in a surplus mode. Suppose I am giving you a very simple example. You have your monthly budget. You go to your mom, you go to your dad and you say that I want to have my pocket money. Not at present. Most of you are working now. I'm talking about when you were working in studying in university. Your dad gave you 1,000 rupees and said this is your monthly pocket money that you have to use it for the entire month. And then after receiving that, you just tried calculating its expenses that, okay, out of these 1,000, I'll be spending 300 for my birthday party. I'll be having this much for this much for this much for this. You have done that. But at the end of the month, when you are calculating, you are finding that you have spent only 800 rupees. That means you have received 1,000 and you have spent 800. So what is the difference? 200. And this 200 is the plus 200. Why? Because you are in a surplus zone. And this 200 you can either take or carry forward to the next month, or you can spend it as per your choice. But suppose with your friend or in certain month, if it happens that instead of 800, when you are encountering that you had some previous savings also, you had used that also. And instead of 1,000, you have spent 1,500 in that particular month. So what is your balance? It is minus 500. That means you are running a deficit of 500. So similar thing, we are going to look over the receipt of water and the moving back of water into the atmosphere, the balancing between them. If it is a positive one, it would be surplus. And if it is a negative one, it would be a deficit. And both the scenario is not acceptable in any part of India, because surplus of water will lead to flood and deficit of water will create scenario like drought. Both of them are extreme climatic events which we are not ready for. So we have to manage this scenario. This is precipitation, this is evapotranspiration. This is the storage value, whatever amount that is being stored in that region. And how storage happens? Either through surface may, if there are some rivers, canals, ponds, lakes, the water will get stored there. And some of the water also goes down, they percolate down, they infiltrate and gets reserved as groundwater resource. But sometimes it also happens that part of water gets moved away, they flow out as runoff, and this flowing out of water runoff creates scenario of flood. Okay, so these are 4 important indicators that have been taken for the calculation of water balance. Temperature designated by T, degree centigrade, precipitation P, average or threshold sunshine. We have to have the sunshine hours. Why? Because sunshine hours are very important. They actually dictate and decide the rate of evaporation and the number of days that we have to have, and it is designated by small letter d. Their units are degree centigrade, precipitation in millimeter, sunshine in hours, and number of days, obviously it's the number. These are some of the formula that I have actually applied. I also show you the calculation, how I have calculated the water balance for Delhi for the year 2020 and what are the results that I have got and how these results can be implicated and managed to make this important resource sustainable within the growing city of Delhi. So there is a very famous climatologist, Thornwitt. You all must have studied in your physical geography. There were 2, Thornwitt and Koppen. So I have taken Thornwitt's method for calculation of water balance, and it says P is equal to R plus ET plus delta Sm. P is the precipitation, R is the stream flow, that is total amount of water that is being moved out as runoff. ET is the evapotranspiration, that means the combined process of evaporation plus transpiration. And delta Sm is the change in the soil moisture, because you know the amount of moisture available in the soil is not static. It changes every time. So we have to get data for that also. And once we are there, then we can apply this formula to get or to calculate water balance. We need to calculate PET. For PET, this is the formula. Then once we have calculated PET, we can keep it aside. Then we have to calculate ET, which is the actual evapotranspiration. For that, we need to have data for precipitation that I have got from IMD, Indian Meteorological Department. Soil moisture I have calculated. This is the formula for soil moisture, and this is the available watering capacity of the soil. Now, what is this? Every field or every area has a specific capacity to absorb water. That means I'm giving you one example again, a very simple example. Suppose I'm sitting in my room and my window is wide open and it is raining very heavily. And in front of my balcony, I have my garden and it is full of green plants and bushes and grasses and all. I'm just seeing them and I'm being very happy. Soon after that, it has rained for continuously 3 hours, very heavily. Suddenly, I moved out and I saw that my entire garden is flooded with water. And up till this much, you can say up till 1 feet. So I was wondering how this has happened. Contrary to this, there is another garden of mine, not in Delhi, somewhere else, where rainfall has happened and continuously for 3 hours also. But the amount of rainfall was not that heavy. It was just drizzling very lightly. And there I could notice that the water, that the field is not flooded. So why this scenario has happened? Because in the second case, the field has got sufficient time where the water could get infiltrated down the earth's surface. And the entire water got deposited as groundwater resource. But here, since it was happening very heavily, so the field did not get sufficient time to make all the water percolate down. Some of them got in the form of runoff, and the other, since it was a fenced boundary, it got deposited in the form of flooded field. Similar thing. The second important thing, every field has its capacity to absorb water. If the capacity of my field is to absorb 1500 milliliter of water, or suppose you can say 1500 liters of water, and if it has rained 2000 liter, then those 1500 liters of water will get infiltrated within my field. But what about the remaining 500? My field is already full to its capacity. It cannot take any single drop of water inside it. So the leftover water will either become flooded or it will move out. This is known as available watering capacity of any field. And it's available with the Central Groundwater Board that you can collect. This is a constant that is fixed. And this is again AWPL divided by AWC that is available with the Central Groundwater Board. This AWPL is the preceding value of P minus PET plus succeeding value of AWPL. Everything has to be calculated. Only this is constant and AWC is something that we have got from the Central Groundwater Board. So based on these formula and based on these four indicators, this is the result that I have got. These are the different months. This is the data for 2020. For the 12 months in a year for Delhi, the temperature that I have got is this. The heat index that I have calculated is something, is this. This is the PET that I have calculated, potential evapotranspiration. This is the average sunshine hour. This is the number of days. And based on all these things and the formula for PET, see here everything is required. I've got the actual value of PET. That is potential evapotranspiration in Delhi month-wise. Soon after getting this, precipitation remains the same. This is my PET. And based on PET, I have to calculate my ET. And what is the formula for ET? ET is equal to P plus delta soil moisture. So in order to get delta soil moisture, I need to have P minus PET. So this is the value of my ET. And finally, how do we calculate water surplus and water deficit month? I've got the value for PET. I've got the value for ET. Now I have to see which is higher. So deficit is equal to PET minus ET. This is my PET value, potential evapotranspiration. This is my ET value, actual evapotranspiration. And the difference between them, I've taken nil. Why? Because PET minus ET is the deficit. That means PET has to be greater than ET. And here, since ET is greater, so there is no deficit. There is no deficit. Again, no deficit, no deficit. But 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 months out of the 12 months in Delhi, they are the deficit month. And the remaining 4 months, they are the surplus month. So this yellow colored figure is representing the water surplus month. January, February, and July and August are the water surplus month in Delhi. And left over that March, April, May, June, September, October, November, December are the water deficit month in the state of Delhi. So if we get a fair idea that which are the months in a particular region or in a particular state or in a particular city that is having deficit and that is having a surplus, it will make the work of planners very, very easy. Based on this calculation, I can definitely share this result with the Central Groundwater Board, with the water resource planners for Delhi, that if you are planning like how to maintain the this important resource water in Delhi, these are the important months that are receiving surplus. So please have some like reservoir techniques or some storage devices where this excess water, instead of moving out and creating havoc in the form of flood, let us just store them. And we can use this water during the water deficit months when Delhi do not receive any water and the people of Delhi are always in a constant need of water. So we can actually create a balance between between the water surplus and the water deficit. And this balance is something which is known as water balance. And this water balance calculation is very, very necessary in almost all the aspects related with hydrology. So in my results and discussions, this is the 2 graph that I have made based on the values that I have got. This is your ET. This red color line is showing actual evapotranspiration. This green color line is showing potential evapotranspiration, and this P, precipitation, is showing this. So based on this, I've just demarcated. This is my surplus area, which was the July and August. This was January, February, the surplus area, and the 4-month year and the 4-month year, they are representing the deficit. So instead of looking over the data, just seeing over this graph, this will give you a fair idea that 8 months in our Delhi, and what are those 8 months are this, they are showing a deficit of water. And what is the deficit amount? That can also be calculated. This is the value of PET and this is the value of ET. The difference of that can be just calculated from the graph and could be analyzed. Like you can say in the month of March, the deficit is not very high. It's very minimum because the difference is not very high. But as you reach the month of June, it's very, very high. Similar thing here, it's very, very minimum, but October it's becoming again a wider gap is being shown. So it can be analyzed from this that January, February, July, and August, there is a surplus water available in the state of Delhi, out of which month of August receives the highest rainfall. The month of August is receiving the highest rainfall. See, here also it's being shown. But in the remaining 8 months, that is March, April, May, June, September, October, November, and December, Delhi faces deficit scenario, which you can also say severe shortages of water in most part of it, out of which the month of December receives the lowest rainfall. सबसे कम बारिश होती है. Water surplus and water deficit months, they are identified through ET and PET. When ET is greater than PET, it indicates surplus month, like we have seen in the previous graph. And when ET is less than PET, it indicates, when ET is greater than PET, it indicates surplus month. When ET is greater than PET, similar thing, it indicates surplus month. And when PET is greater than ET, it indicates the water deficit month. Similar thing. So what will happen to all these calculation and result? Mismanagement of water can be checked and reduced through the calculation of water balance. And such a calculation, such a balance is the utmost requirement in the biggest cities of India, in the biggest cities of the world, where there is a heavy demand of water. Suppose there is a very small rural area where there is ample supply of water, but the population is not very high. So people will hardly give a damn care that what is the need of this particular study here, because we do not require so much of water. Water is available in ample amount, but our demand is not very high. But when these people are moving to some big metropolitan cities, there the availability or the supply of water is rather fixed. We cannot have like its supply increased every year. So under such a scenario, we must maintain a balance between the supply and the demand of water. And the calculation of this water balance, you can say it can provide a revolutionary change in the mindset of the supplier, mindset of the people who are demanding, mindset of the people who are planning and managing this important resources. And how this is possible? Only when people are aware of the water deficit and water surplus month. Suppose if I'm staying in Delhi and I know that, okay, June, August, from March, April, May, June, these four are the water deficit months in my particular state. So I should be most aware of the scenario that I'm not going to misuse the water. I'm going to use it to the fullest level, the rational use of water. So as a consumer of water, we should also be very, very aware of the scenario. And accordingly, guidelines should also be released regarding ways of storing water during water surplus month by head of committee or the respective departments that we have. So at last, I am going to focus. This is a very important part of my today's discussion, and which I'm sure most of you would put into practice after getting a glimpse over my lecture and hearing most of the technologies, most of the innovative techniques that I'm going to propose today. Because ultimately, all of us need this important resource today also, and our future generation will also be requiring it. So it's our prime duty to make this important resource sustainable. So we should focus on 3 R's related to water resource, that is reuse, recycle, and reduce. We must reduce the amount of water. That means whatever amount we are requiring, we must ensure that the maximum of it we must utilize, and the area where it is not required, we must reduce its use. Recycle. Recycle means once the water has been, like it is happening in our college also, we have a chemistry lab, and the people that are using chemicals and water for the purpose, they have a waste treatment management plan where all these chemical treated water goes and it is being treated. It is like all the chemicals are being removed from there, and that water is again being used to water the plants in the garden. So this is recycle, reuse of water. We must not ensure that once we have used the water, it becomes useless. No, we must learn how to reuse water. Like what I do at my home, I have an RO. And all of you must be aware that RO has a very important terminology, that they have a pipe system. And out of the 100% of water that is being supplied to it, it clarifies or it purifies only 20% of it, and the remaining 80% moves out of that pipe as wastewater. And most of us do what? We just keep the pipe outside the outlet and it goes wasted. No, what I've done, I have used that pipe, I have included it in my washing machine. It gets accumulated, stored in my washing machine, and the next time when I'm using washing machine, I use the same water. So this is reusing of water. As a consumer, as a people who is demanding water, we must also be cautious and we must also be sustainable. So this is my first innovative suggestion that I am advocating today. Second, related with the first only, this is the Delhi's first solar powered plant recycle. It can also happen. For this, you do not require any external energy. You can get the solar energy tapped from the sun. So Delhi's first solar power plant recycle and the wastewater into drinking water. Just imagine this wastewater has been converted into a drinking water, and the energy that is required also, it is not wasted. It has been tapped from the sun, which is very amply available and very easily available in our monsoonal state, in our tropical country of India. Then water saving aerators in our home, we are using, all of us are using taps or water showers. So instead of using the normal traditional showers, let us use the water saving aerators, and it is very easily available in the market. They have a very small pores and they actually regulate the flow of water. That means the entire amount of water is not being moved out, because the water, when it is coming out from the tap, we do not require almost all of them. We reduce its force through just by moving this channel. So this has small pores and it has a filtrage system also that regulates the flow of water. And these are also known as green water efficient taps. These are the water saving showers. See, just have a glimpse over them. Rainwater harvesting, very important terminology. And rainwater harvesting, I think most of the cities or most of the buildings in Delhi, which are known as green buildings, they are using this technology of rainwater harvesting. It is the principle of collecting and using precipitation from a catchment surface. That means when rainfall is actually occurring, what we have done, we have it's mostly in the form of rooftop rainwater harvesting. At the roof of our house, we have four corners. At the four corners, we have four pipes, which is directly pumped into the underground water. And when the rainfall is occurring, whatever amount is being collected over the roof, it is not going wasted anywhere. It is just being channelized to all the four corners. And from those corners, it is moving down to the pipe and it is being collected underground. And this is the water that is being regulated to our washrooms. We are not using fresh water in our washrooms. We are using those water, rainwater, which is collected in our toilets, in the flushes, all these things, not in showers. Usually not in showers, but for other purposes. This is being happened. So it is an old technology and it is gaining popularity in a very new way and new fashion. Rainwater harvesting enjoying a renaissance of sorts in the world, but in ancient Rome, residences were built with individual cisterns and paved courtyards to capture rainwater to augment water from cities. Aqueducts. Aqueducts are nothing. They are actually a duct system that is collecting water and making it go down. The same was also in the famous Indus Valley civilization and the Mesopotamian civilization. When excavation actually happened, then people came to know that people in that area were also very, very aware of all these technologies, and their buildings showed sign of all these structures. Then we have the concept of green building. Almost all the buildings in Delhi now, they are green buildings. They have a number of terminologies to qualify to this category of green building. And it is an integrated whole system approach for the design. It includes design, construction, and operation of building that incorporates elements of water and energy efficiently and conserve resources, materials, and indoor air quality. It have positive impact on the climate. Even in these green buildings, the normal window ACs are not allowed because they are said to create a lot of pollution. Only the split AC system is allowed. You need to have a particular percentage of green area. The height of the building should not reach a specific limit. There are a number of indicators on which these green buildings are being tagged. And also all the instruments, all the technologies that is being implied here, all those are water saving technologies, and they are very, very sustainable. Next is dishwater and washing machine EPA Star empty. Using household appliances more effectively is a great way to save water. Instead of just using a lot of water and wasting it, we can use some water sensing devices. Energy Star provides a helpful guide for water efficient dishwashers or washing machines. When we are going to the market to buy some dishwasher or washing machine, what do we see? Its price? No. The first thing that you must look over is its star rating. Star rating is the least energy and water consumption. It will take only 2 liters of water and it will wash your 20 clothes. Something like that is there. And it is indicated by this water sense, meets EPA criteria. Please look over these important technologies, these important signs, and behind this, you can see this is a splash of water. That means it is actually taking lesser use of water. This is one example. In United States, in appliances, there is EPA's water sense stamp of approval. When any machine with this sticker on it uses at least 20% less water than the average appliances. In India, it's still in the process. You will not find in most of the stores, but yes, this will capture the market very soon. And as a rule of thumb, front-loading washers use less water than top-loading machines. It is usually said that if you are purchasing a washing machine and that also fully automatic, please take a front-loading washers because they use lesser amount of water as compared to the top-loading machines. Flood management, this is very important. Major portion of India, almost you can say 2/3 of India's land area is reeling under flood every time. And most of the water, it's just flowing like this. It's not being tapped, being this a very important and precious resource. So what we can do, intensive afforestation can also provide security from floods, because the more and more plantation we will have, it will act as a barrier to the flow of water and its intensity will get reduced. It will be helpful in absorption of also water in the soil. The more green plants or more forest would be there, more water could be absorbed by their roots and lesser water would be available to flow in the form of floods. Drainage areas of Yamuna rivers have been taken up in flood management and security. To some limit has been provided to the land. This is something which is being practiced in Delhi right now. Rational use of groundwater. We must do rational use of groundwater. For recharging groundwater, necessary drainage area should also be made available. And 7 of Delhi's 9 districts are categorized as overexploited with respect to dynamic groundwater resources, indicating that groundwater recharge is much lesser than its withdrawal. People are withdrawing and extracting groundwater at a very fast pace, but at the same time, its recharge should also be done. So it's suggested, please don't concretize the area. Let it be a muddy or a soil structury area which can allow percolation of water. And at the same time, please minimize your use and extraction of groundwater and do it rationally as far as possible. Then this is aquifer storage and recovery. This is the water. See, the water that I said, this is the roof. This is the rooftop. Water is being calculated here. It is being collected here everywhere. And then from here, if the excess water is there, it is just channelized in the form and it goes in the form of water table and ultimately to the aquifer storage. And aquifer storage and recovery is the direct injection of surface water supplies such as potable water, reclaimed water, or river water into aquifer for later recovery. This is the future storage of water in case of any crisis or any war. If it happens over water in the coming years, this is our future storage on which we can rely. But we must never extract water from this aquifer. Next, very important, evaporation reduction method. We must, apart from these techniques, we must also try to reduce the rate of evaporation that is happening. Though it is a natural process, but yes, we can move ahead to and try to reduce its reduction. There is a physical method for evaporation reduction, and how this happens, this is through the shade balls and bubbles. See, this person is just throwing all these bubbles into the river. So what it will do, artificial destratification. That means we have to cover the surface of a particular river through these shade balls and bubbles. And what it will do, destratification will happen when injecting a bubble plume in the cold deep layer, and it helps to reduce the evaporation. That means these bubbles and these shade balls will act as an obstruction in the process of evaporation, and hence the rate of evaporation will get reduced. We have another biological method for evaporation reduction. Since most of the evaporation happens through open surface area like ponds, lakes, we have big seas, oceans. So over oceans, we don't have control. Over big seas, we don't have control. But as far as ponds and lakes are concerned, which are more or less static, not very much flowing and moving, what we can do? We can introduce some aquatic plants. These are the aquatic plants such as water lily, small duckweed, great duckweed, and watermeal. And what they will do? They, along with their leaves, they will cover the surface of the lakes and the ponds. And it is the surface only from which evaporation takes place. So if we are covering the surface of any pond or lake with these floating aquatic plants, remember they must be floating over the surface. So the rate of evaporation will automatically get reduced. Why? Because the water reservoir, by preventing the connection between air and the boundary layer water, it will create the gap, whatever gap is there, no, it will act as a suction, or it will create an obstruction, and it will not allow higher rate of water to get evaporated into the atmosphere. And this has already been made operational in Thailand. Studies in Thailand have shown that duckweed can reduce evaporation up to 10%. And even 10% of evaporation, we can reduce ample amount of water we can save. So the second to last slide. In final conclusion, what I would like to advocate today, that there are existing inequalities in service availability of water in Delhi. That is a glaring fact. Piped water supplies are available in planned colonies, so they don't have to really face problems such as insufficient water availability during summer months. But the communities living in unplanned colonies, this is the major area of concern, like slums, squatter settlements, or very smaller areas, however, suffer the most because of Delhi's inability to ensure adequate supply and access to water. And for them, this is very important. There is a serious water crisis in the area not covered by piped networks, with poor people suffering the most. Not having adequate potable water within their premises, especially during health emergencies, such as the recent COVID-19 pandemic that all of us are aware with, will make it harder for the government to protect the health of its citizens. On one hand, safe water is not available. On the other hand, unhygienic availability of water will create a number of health problems. And all these are going to put a lot of pressure on the respective state governments. So the Delhi government has a difficult task to put the city's water supply and disposable system in good order. The imperative is to do what? To work with non-state entities and citizens and apply smart and sustainable solutions, some of which I have discussed in today's lecture, for solving many problems besetting the water sector. Better grievance redressal mechanism also needs to be created, where people could actually go and they could pour out their heart. They could actually tell the government or explain the government what is the real scenario that they are facing related with water stress, or the non-availability of water, or the unhygienic supply of water. Offering free water and waivers to citizens might help in winning elections, but such populist measures will not be beneficial in the long run. So in my final summation, as part of today's discussion, and to all the participants of this refresher course in geography, and as a geographer, it's a request, please make full and rational use of water, not only in your respective city, not only in your respective state, but also in your respective household. With this, very, very thank you to all of you. Thank you so much.